Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for May 28th through 31st, coming to the end of another month of 2021. What an adventure roller coaster ride. And the saga continues as we have Mercury turning retrograde tomorrow on the 29th. So this is such an interesting and confusing energy right now because Venus is coming up to Mercury just as Mercury turns retrograde. And as they're together, they're an exact square to Neptune. And Neptune is at 22 degrees, but will be moving to 23 degrees tomorrow. So there's just so many messages here around these shifting times, how dynamic and powerful this moment that we're in, although not very comfortable, I have to say, because Mercury and Venus at 22, Venus, Mercury's at 24, turning retrograde, going back, Venus coming up to Mercury. And we have basically, this makes a not too far out of Tsquare energy with the Galactic Center in Sagittarius. So that, across the way from Mercury and Venus there in Gemini. And so this is really strange because we've got all of this mutable energy, Mercury turning retrograde, square to Neptune for 3 whole weeks. It's unheard of, plus another week, 4 total. Absolute confusion around what is true, what's reality, what we want, what we care about, because, we've got Venus involved here. It's not just a rearranging of our mind, it's a rearranging of our heart. And maybe that's what it's about, hooking back up our heart and our mind. But the Sagittarius energy of this Tsquare with the Galactic Center is bringing up, it's like an extension. We're feeling a reverberation effect of that lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. And so it's bringing up with the South Node in Sagittarius, it's like a full-on pressure cooker. It's almost like this is a culmination of so much of what we have been dealing with, because we've got a complete lack of direction, complete confusion, retrograde, confusion, delusion, pressure, tension around a massive amount of psychic healing happening right now. But especially for SuperNova Souls, the pressure is on around getting back on your spiritual quest. This Galactic Center Tsquare is like, this is what this shift is about for you. And then it's like, okay, wait a minute. Here we are at the most confusing moment of time, it feels like. And you're saying it's time for me to get on my path? Back on my path? And the way forward is covered in fog and confusion and traps and mysteries, and it's like landmines and stuff. So what an intense combination of energies. And what it's doing, because Mercury turning retrograde, it's putting this pressure on the supernova soul, a deep repressed feeling over lifetimes where you feel like you're not doing what you're here to do. You're not fulfilling your purpose. It's a deep and profound grief. Often in the supernova soul, this is underneath all of your difficult feelings. And with this South Node Sag eclipse and this Tsquare near the Galactic Center, it's just, the game is on. And so it says that this Mercury retrograde is actually going to be very different than any other Mercury retrograde. It's almost like it's not following the rules, because I'm seeing clarity come and direction come. And it's like, almost like finally things are getting sorted out from a year ago, Venus retrograde. So it actually is like, maybe things are going to start falling into place that you've been trying to get to happen for a very long time, which is not the typical Mercury retrograde energy. But because it is shadowing this area that Venus took a retrograde, which was like last year, it was a complete reevaluation of what we want, where we're going, what we care about, who we are, You know, Venus transits have a way of challenging your sense of self, bringing up the deepest, darkest insecurities. And now we have that Venus and Mercury, the mind and the heart, in square to Neptune and Pisces. And this is because, okay, so Neptune and Pisces, when that's really highlighted, it brings an energy of wanting to escape reality. And the feeling with the pressure of this like pot coming to boil with Mars moving through Cancer, it's like this, and these squares and the cognitive dissonance of our world, where we know we're starting to really see that reality is a big lie. And then it's like, okay, so Neptune in Pisces wants to escape reality. It's often a time where there you can, addiction energy is really strong. It's like the deep subconscious stuff we've been running from just starts to bloom and, pushes us to places that, uncomfortable places that we'd like to run from. And this whole energy right now. It's like, where are you going to run? Where are you going to go? And what if reality is such a lie? How can you escape it? And it's actually this interesting thing, because it's like, oh, seeing the reality as a lie is how we escape the lower matrix. So we're being given a huge opportunity. But the other thing you have to understand is that what I'm seeing from the energy shifting, the Schumann resonance has been super strong the last few days. Rapid psychic healing. And as a healer who's helped souls work through deep layers of disease, ancestral programming over long periods of time, there's a component. There's like, you're going to, every time you move these big energies in your field, you're going to have a realization, you're going to have emotion, you're going to have a reprogramming, a falling away of your false identity constructs, and a reordering of in your truth. And that's all beautiful, but it's happening rapidly. Like what I would help people over months and years is happening like so quickly. So keep this in mind and support yourself and your body and your psyche. And know that when you do have psychic healing, there's a physical component as well in our physical body, right? Physical, emotional, spiritual, it's all got to adjust. And so, happening so rapidly like this, what happens is that you could have a healing crisis. The healing crisis seems to be happening on an emotional level, where it's like you kind of get clogged up, almost like I'm feeling the astral plane right now, because there's some souls leaving and maybe more souls in the next wave and trying to come in, and a lot of stuck souls because of the addiction energies blooming of the medical tyranny, poison energy, just seeking to disconnect souls from their body. And so that's really the goal of all psychological programming, mind control, all those dark psychological programs, and everything that they've done to us in recent times, technological grid and technological interference and nanite technology and the transhuman agenda and all that. It's all based on the idea is that, and this is the traumatization of advanced souls, done very deliberately. And this is what's healing so fast. So if you have been traumatized in past lives, or this life on another level, or on another level in another realm or dimension, or what you don't remember, it's coming up in your psyche. And it can be really scary, because it's like, I didn't even know that monster was in there under my bed, and how do I wrestle with this? I thought I had it together here a little bit. I thought that I had done all the spiritual work to be prepared, and I'm drowning is kind of the feeling in this psychic, but that's because of the rapid healing, And so this is such a powerful and profound time, but understanding that, so things are going to get worse before they get better. This Mercury retrograde is like a squeeze. It's a tension point. It's the pot coming to boil. and it's that point right before it comes to boil, and maybe we're watching the pot, right? And it like won't boil all the way, but we know it has to eventually. And we're kind of those aware souls, like bracing yourself for what's coming, because you can sense this, and that's the deal. Events in time ripple out to the past. They, have a connection back to the past, but also to the future. So very aware psychic souls, you've been working on yourself. You're getting more and more psychic, more and more aware, more and more sensitive. You're going to feel this collective energy of what the unknown that's coming. So it feels like it's going to get even weirder. It's totally unexpected. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but something's happening. And this Mercury retrograde is that. It's a preparation for that. It's the eclipse season. It's this massive psychic adjustment that needs to happen. But all of the dark psychological programs seek, and mind control of the masses right now, seek to intercept the body and the soul. And this is where we find the evidence that a human soul, aware of itself as consciousness in a physical body, is the highest form of life. Why else would they do everything to try to disconnect our soul from our body? Now, these programs have been going on in weird, dark shit that we can't even comprehend. And so there's that buildup in the astral plane of stuck souls through addiction or this dark psychological programs or trauma. So some sensitive souls, feeling that energy and feeling this precipice, feeling this pot to boil, feeling this no escape. But that actually means it's our chance to escape. So really, really interesting, because I'm seeing the confusion of the Mercury retrograde time and square Neptune and all that, but there's a light out there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like darkest just before the dawn, and it's almost like in that darkest point, you can see the dawn is going to come, right? So that square and all of this programming is just kind of lingering, suspended, as we are suspended in time, waiting for the shift to happen. And then the pressure of feeling like it's up to us to make it happen. This is a Sagittarius energy. And yet the 3D energy, it's like you can just feel this like absolute frustration. Nothing, it's part of the retrograde energy too. Nothing is working, nothing is moving. But that lunar eclipse brought a rift. It brought a slit through the green screen, through the delusion. And so it's through this next period of time, it's really important as an advanced soul to focus on that slit of light and do not lose it, because it's almost like in order to get to the next place, we have to almost lose all hope and go deeper into the darkness, right? But you're here because you have established the silver cord. And it makes me think of how Edgar Casey described the way he would put himself to sleep, like self-hypnosis, and do psychic readings, right? And so he described the process of what would happen to him. And every time he would go access the Akashic records, he had to go through those lower astral planes. And there was always a point where he had to really focus on that silver cord to, be able to hold on to his body and still reach out to those realms. And this is an exact metaphor for where we're at right now. And so it's interesting, because it's like we're getting a little light, we're getting a little direction, things are starting to organize and stuff. But it's also, we're being called to action as advanced souls in this very deliberate holding on to our silver cord and our spiritual truth and our hope. Hope is all we have through this next weird chapter. And, it's just, here we are. And what are we doing here? Are we here? We want it. We want to see Earth come into its fruition of the Eden star that it wants to be, the full expression of Gaia in the 5D consciousness, but we're ultimately here for spiritual ascension and to come into our light body. And you've already done light body work, and so it's really wild how, it's like the part of the population that's choosing to go deeper asleep. And then there's the others who have already chosen to awaken. And maybe that's a trapped feeling. It's like, you can't get out of this. Can't get out of this. And the pressure is building. Now, before any big shift and change, there's always going to be that uncomfortable feeling, right? Of like, say, shedding skin. And there's going to be a point where the old skin's too tight. Like it's going to get uncomfortable first, always, before any big shift in our life. You're never going to leave that job until it gets really shitty, or that relationship. It's just part of it. And so here we are at that moment in time. Now, the message around medicine for this right now is that this rapid psychic healing is so intense. You've got to find somebody to talk to who's aware of this going on for them too. Right? It doesn't have to be like a professional or anything. It's just like, find people, seek out, open your psyche, like in a deliberate intention. It's like really important for us to in person be able to talk through what's happening to us in this rapid psychic cleansing, because typically you would have months to process this type of stuff. Right. And so when you can talk to one of the, because a lot of people are going through it unconsciously, and then it's really confusing too. And this is a big part of it, right? Because you might be unconsciously processing what other people aren't willing to face around you, not even knowing you're doing it, because that's part of being a supernova soul, right? The garbage collector and recycler and all that, right? So if you can seek out people that are also experiencing this, and just talk through what's coming up. We're getting glimpses of profound realization, that deep dive into the ancestral programming. Oh, there it is. I can see this energy of, say, betrayal and abandonment is so deep-seated for generations. And, we just play it out like a bad software. And it's time to get rid of the virus, right? And so just seeking out another person that you can talk to and just talk through what's coming up. Gemini wants to talk it out, communicate. This is how we move this energy right now. So that is really powerful medicine, because it's supporting you in the psychic healing. It's validating who you are as an advanced soul, and it's getting you in the direction that this thing of like, okay, you're totally dazed and confused, and all this deep, dark insecurity shit is coming up, but get on your path. Come on, let's do it. What? A deep calling coming forward, that suppressed desire to come into a bigger expression of who you really are. And so that's part of the shedding skin. There's part of this pressure pushing you into the expression of what's inside of you, that getting that seed to sprout, so really powerful and intense times. And now Venus, so we talked about how Mercury and Venus is square to Neptune, Mars and trine to Neptune. Now that's exact on the 1st, so on Tuesday. So this is really helpful. This can help us harmonize this healing. And then after that, right on Tuesday is when we start to feel the next really big square transit. And this is what's bringing on the pressure, because Mars, the warrior, it's about raw power. In Cancer, it's a force of nature, healing as a force of nature, the mother nurturing as a powerful force, right? And then Pluto is about power. Pluto is about our psychic power. It's about fear of our power. And so now in Capricorn, it's about authority constructs and structures of authority throughout time. that have been about control, where we've given our power away. And so this is really powerful, a force of nature healing, nurturing power in a tension relationship with the structures of power that need to be a political and financial power on this planet that need to be reevaluated and changed and broken down completely, right, before we can move into any kind of Aquarian age. And so when Mars and Pluto as the power planets are in square, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of pressure, and this is this pot coming to boil energy. And it's really weird because it's like it's happening right when we've got all this, Mercury retrograde and square Neptune. And it's like, wait a minute, the pressure's on, but we're still in the fog, And so who knows what that's going to be about. And that leads us into that solar eclipse in Gemini, a big Gemini explosion energy that happens on the 10th. So that's the other thing, right? Not only do we have Mercury square Neptune, Mercury turning retrograde, and Venus square Neptune, we've got this in between eclipses and mutable signs. And in between eclipses is just so strange, so it's just like high weirdness right now. And so don't check out though, right? And you'll know if you're doing it because you're going to start feeling all of that congestion of the lower astral plane. And then we have to deliberately get back to that slit, get back to that silver cord, and just call down the light into your life. Have your future self, God self, creator energy walk with you in this journey. You did not come for this. You're so much more. And you got to start living and breathing that more if you're going to ever get out of this trap. I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop it, right? But it's important for SuperNova Souls to clear the psychological programming and that allow the psychic healing so you can start to give yourself permission to feel better and start creating at those higher frequencies. And it's a challenge right now. Those people who have had such a great, oh yeah, I'm over here, I got my energy and I'm going to let that be happening and, not judge it and be in that, and it's like, this is a hugely challenging time to not feel what other people feel or the collective. And you won't even know you're doing it. You'll just start feeling shitty, right? Now that's an interesting energy because it's like your own emotional energies, you have the tools to move those. If it's other people's emotional energies, you're going to feel stuck in it, so that's an interesting thing going on. But the way we help the stuck souls, the way we help process and the psychic healing is to hold on to that silver cord and focus on that slit of light and be the hope of this world. This is Maya, a delusion. There's so much more. And it is your job, your marching orders as of this moment to walk forward in this light every step. Keep breathing, deep breathing, breathe in the light because all this Gemini air energy, it's like the winds of change, breathe, let yourself harmonize and adjust to these changes. Support yourself with running water, nature, rest. Because why not take advantage of rapid psychic healing? I mean, it's messy and very confusing and deep and dark, and yet better out than in. I mean, isn't it time to shift this? I mean, I'm seeing people find stuff that's like, oh my gosh, I felt this my whole life, but it was so deep hidden in there. And I had no idea that this was the trigger that kept putting me back. And it's been there this whole time. And I thought it was some monster under my bed, So anyway, put your light on and keep it on. And have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update. And we'll be talking through this energy of the solar eclipse and Mercury retrograde. So hang in there and keep shining. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.